You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today we'll meet a man from Wichita who went viral on TikTok for his dog.
The winter storm pushes up from the southwest. It's going to be an interesting day of travel, not only for Wednesday. Oh, this thing's going to last into tomorrow. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And paleontologists find a larger-than-life fossil from the Jurassic period. All that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. Springfield police issue an endangered person advisory. And this advisory came out yesterday morning. The missing person is Kelsey Ann Usher. She's 29 years old, has brown hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a gray long-sleeve shirt with white sleeves. Now, the suspect in this case is Alan Stokes. He's 44 years old. He was last seen wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt and blue jeans. According to the Missouri Highway Patrol, Usher appeared to be forcefully taken from 2100 North Clifton against her will by Stokes during a domestic incident. Anyone seeing the missing person or the suspect or have anyone having any information related to the endangered missing person should immediately call 911 to contact the nearest law enforcement agency, or you can also call Springfield Police 417-308-6761. Housing developers will soon receive incentives for building new homes in Joplin. On Tuesday, Joplin Council passed the Housing Revitalization Plan. Under the plan, incentives based on the value of a home will be awarded if the new home replaces an existing single-family home and complements the existing neighborhood. A budget of $1 million is being set aside for the project. It'll be paid for by the current use tax. Officials hope the plan will encourage more people to build new homes in Joplin.
This is what we wanted. I mean, we want our city to move forward, and we want these areas, our neighborhoods to improve, and this was a huge step forward. So we want to thank the citizens for passing the use tax ultimately.
Council also received an update on the development of a new fire station. It's being built at 6720 East 30th Street. Bidding for the project is scheduled for April. Another downtown Joplin landmark is set to get a new lease on life. The former downtown YMCA in Joplin, which was home to a number of kids and families over the years, will soon be a real home to kids and families. Sawyer Smith with Blue Haven Homes says they're working to develop apartments in the building. They're the same group redeveloping the historic Olivia building in downtown. Smith says the history of the Y building is essential to its future.
The big one is we want to keep the YMCA feel, so we're going to be keeping the pool in the basement and really trying to transform a lot of the basement area into a gym and keep that activity focus of what the YMCA used to be for so many people around Joplin.
Smith says they're still very early in the planning stages, so an opening date is still too early to set. On Tuesday, members of the Carthage Family Career and Community Leaders of America showed their appreciation for area frontline workers. FCCLA delivered care packages, 100 of them, to nurses at Freeman and Mercy hospitals. Care packages included lotions, chapstick, and sweet treats.
Our class is Family and Consumer Sciences is what we are, so it's all about giving back to the family and the community. So it just really ties hand in hand, giving service back to other people.
We really appreciate it. Carthage FCCLA has 40 members. Now, warning, this next story is dangerously cute. It's about dogs on a hog. Hog meaning Harley Davidson. That's right. Videos of a pair of motorcycle riding mutts are going viral. 2 chopper chihuahuas taking the internet by storm. Sean Lodging reports.
Butters knows when it's time to ride, and Mama is already strapped in to go.
Oh yeah. Every single time I go on the bike.
They even have little helmets for safety.
The helmets come right off, and luckily I got lucky enough that they ended up fitting their snouts. So some work did have to go into the helmets, like putting in another helmet in there and then creating a little nose shield. But yeah, they fit.
But Mama, Butters, and Jesus Carrasco aren't alone for this ride.
All the way across the world, Japan, China, the UK, Mexico, you know, or even just some neighbors here in Wichita.
Jesus' two chihuahuas becoming quite the internet sensation. Their videos receiving millions of views on the social media app TikTok.
Back in 2020, we were all bored from coronavirus, and my dogs always went with us everywhere we went. So we started off with the Jeep, and they liked that.
While it's the cuteness of these pups that draw in the eyes, the motivation for this, Jesus says, was his girlfriend.
It was mostly her idea, then she convinced me to film it and then post it. So I got to give credit where credit is due.
So when his Harley revs up, often his dogs are there to accompany him, even on the simplest of journeys.
He was riding on the front. We went to Chick-fil-A because we were just trying to get something to eat.
If anything, it's a way to spend more time with man's best friend.
We just had a newborn baby, so right now they're all like starved for attention.
As Carrasco's adventures continue, he says he would like to involve more of his family in the future. Well, weather used to help teach a new trick, or for no reason at all, dogs respond to their treats. So honor the goodie that helps reward them and keep them in line. That's because Wednesday, today, is National Dog Biscuit Day. And it's not just celebrated by American dog owners, it's also International Dog Biscuit Appreciation Day. Our pups might appreciate the treats even more than their owners, so find a special goodie to give your pooch. Just remember, in moderation, or maybe go for a long walk to burn off those treat calories. Aww.
It's freezing.
Yeah, it's cold.
Don't take your pets outside, folks. I don't want you outside either.
Well, you gotta let them go to the bathroom, but then bring them back in and give them a treat.
Yeah. Let's not, and no prolonged time outside today. And here's why. We're talking about temperatures that are single digits, right? These aren't wind chills, these are actual temperatures, to the point where hypothermia and frostbite, those are real things. Now, for those of you wondering about schools, organizations, businesses, and activities, remember KOAMnewsnow.com, your one source for a list of all those that may be closed due to inclement weather. Of note, Joplin R8 School District going virtual only today, virtual only. On top of that, we have a number of school districts, especially throughout southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma, that have decided to pack it in for our Wednesday. And once again, KOAMnewsnow.com is where you can find that list. All eyes down to the southwest, because here it is. Started in Texas, now rolling through Oklahoma City. Next stop up is going to be Tulsa. Give you an idea about what we've got cooking outside of OKC right now. It's getting a little nasty out there, and especially when you consider that when we started the show, the KOAM Morning News, there was no snow on the ground. Now look at it. They're moving at about a snail's pace compared to what they were just about half an hour to 45 minutes ago. Winter weather advisory indicated in purple, winter storm warning for the pink. That means it's inevitable. It is a coming. And the reason being, when we see those counties down in the pink down south, it's because of the ice. And what's going to happen as far as our accumulation numbers go, we'll be looking at anywhere from 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of accumulation of ice along and southeast of I-44. Work up to the north, there will be more of a glaze. But to the north is where we'll see the majority of sleet to go along with the snow. That could end up being about 2 inches of accumulation of sleet and snow combined. Remember, it'll not only affect our travel for this afternoon, this evening, and the night, it will also affect our travel for Thursday morning.
All right. We'll be keeping our eye on that for sure.
Don't take your dogs out for a long walk.
Just give them a treat. Up next, we'll have what foods are not the best for your health when trying to keep a balanced diet. And later, a TikTok video goes viral for two women confronting a man after he allegedly groped her. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is adding 4 countries to its highest risk category for travelers. Malaysia, Iran, Bhutan, and Brunei are now all level 4 destinations. That's because they have more than 500 cases of COVID-19 per 100,000 residents within the past 28 days. There are currently nearly 140 destinations with that designation from the CDC. That's up from about 80 that it had back in January. More locations are now deemed level 4 by the CDC than all its other categories combined. Months after the scarcity of COVID tests caused an uproar, at-home test kits are now much more widely available. Some of us may have been uncertain about the relative quality of various tests on the market. On Tuesday, the Food and Drug Administration provided some guidance on that. FDA says It's released a list of all authorized at-home over-the-counter COVID-19 tests. The agency has posted that list on its website. It includes helpful information like the type of test, how quickly it works, and who should use it in terms of symptoms and ages. Recent study shows brain processing speed stays high until 60. The study, published by the journal Nature Human Behavior, analyzed more than 1 million participants from a wide age range who took an online experiment measuring their reaction time to a cognitive test. Research shows response time starts to slow at the age of 20 due to the increases of decision caution. Not for mental speed, though, until after the age of 60. Scientists saw a decline in results due to the participants' age. The analysis also suggested people of college age were least cautious as they were more willing to trade accuracy for speed. I remember those days. Well, if you're past the Super Bowl and Valentine's bad eating, it's time to return to good eating for heart health. Experts say food is in a way a medicine, so take care of your heart during National Heart Month in your eating. As you know, red meats and processed meats taste great, but they have salts, preservatives, and saturated fats. Fried foods like French fries, fried chicken, and foods with added salt are high in sodium. And sugary drinks can affect cardiac disease and stroke. And diet drinks affect your metabolism. Pastas and breads are okay occasionally, but refined grains can risk your blood pressure and heart disease. Was one of your best kitchen cleaning items like a laboratory breeding ground item? New study says yes. New Duke University study has the down and dirty on your kitchen sponges. Duke researchers say your average kitchen sponge has more bacteria than a lab petri dish. Duke scientists say sponge microbial species allow for a diverse community of bacteria to thrive. 80 different E. coli strains were tracked on several growth plates. Scientists say structural environments with large spaces like sponges could help microbes thrive. Back to the food, in case you're hungry. Recent studies suggest eating veggies may not protect you from heart disease. The recent findings challenge past research that says eating vegetables is linked to lowering the risk of cardiovascular diseases like strokes and heart attacks. Researchers used data from nearly 400,000 people enrolled in a UK study and found higher consumption of raw or cooked vegetables is unlikely to affect the risk of cardiac diseases. Researchers do, however, say eating a balanced diet and maintaining a healthy weight is important to prevent major illnesses. Well, after 12 years apart, a dog and her owner are finally reunited. The San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office in California received a call from an animal services officer regarding a stray dog who was dropped off in a rural area. The officer was able to find the chip in the dog and found out her name was Zoe. She was first reported missing in 2010. However, she was missing for such a long time, the microchip company listed her as deceased. In their records, Zoe's owners had the same phone number and were quickly notified, which led to their reunion. Aww.
All's well that ends well.
That's pretty cool.
There you go. All right, Tanya, remember KOAMnewsnow.com. Before you head out the door, make sure that you give her a once over there, because it's not only schools but also colleges, organizations, businesses, activities, and whatnot. Speaking of colleges, Crowder College added to the list of those that are closed on this Wednesday because of the anticipated ice and snow and sleet that we're going to see down to the south. There's a look at our wind chills, a whole bunch of negative numbers. Now we're down to 10 below zero in Yates Center. So that's why being outside for extended periods of time, whether or not your skin is exposed or not, can be very, very dangerous. Here's the Skywatch Storm Tracker. We stay on the dry side right now. We'll remove the cloud cover so we can talk about exactly where this is pressing, as the freezing rain there that we see in the purple is about to make its way into downtown Oklahoma City. A lot of it has turned over to snow as it's approached OKC, but still the freezing aspect of it is problematic because that also contains sleet. And next stop will be working its way toward the northeast, so Tulsa would be next in line. That's a live look outside of Oklahoma City right there, where the traffic has dramatically slowed down for the morning commute. And now we're starting to see the accumulation pile up on the highways as well. Our weather trend here in the 4 states only lifting us up into the 20s today. And also, too, let's remember the expiration time for our winter weather advisory and our winter storm warning. That's not until tomorrow night, because as this thing rolls through, it affects us for this afternoon, this evening, tonight, and then into Thursday morning as well. Even though we get intermittent breaks, it keeps on coming up from the southwest, leading to about 1/10 of an inch to 2/10 of an inch of accumulation to the south, southeast of I-44. And as you work up to the north, a glaze. Combo, the sleet and the snow. Check out this blue line. It runs right through the middle. Could end up with about 2 inches of both kinds of precipitation. Once again, it's not going to be 2 inches of snow. Could be as much as 2 inches of sleet and snow, and then it gets up to about inch and a quarter as you move up to the north. Not going to go anywhere because really we're not going to have a chance to have any type of legitimate melt until we get to Sunday. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Good. Scientists in Scotland say they've found the remains of the world's largest Jurassic pterodactyl. Tina Kraus, she's in London with more on the discovery.
Fossil hunters couldn't believe their eyes when they spotted a jawbone peeking out from the seashore on Scotland's Isle of Skye.
We had to battle the tides to collect it. We almost lost the fossil.
But American paleontologist Steve Brusati and his team from University of Edinburgh managed to get their hands on the largest pterosaur ever discovered from the Jurassic period.
It's an exquisite skeleton. The bones are preserved in 3 dimensions. It's 170 million years old, give or take, and it's big.
With a wingspan of 8 feet, it's the real-life version of Hollywood's flying reptiles.
It's a new species. We call it Yark skianach. That's a Scottish Gaelic name, and that pays homage to where it was found here in Scotland on the Isle of Skye.
The fossil is 70% complete. So intact, scientists built a digital model of its brain, revealing the creature had great eyesight. Researchers say the teenage pterodactyl had an arsenal of sharp teeth, weighed about 20 pounds, and was still growing.
So already, way back in the Jurassic period, these pterosaurs were getting much larger than we used to think.
Scientists call it the discovery of a century that pieces together a huge gap in fossil records. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
The fossil has now been sent to the collection of the National Museum of Scotland, allowing for it to be studied for years to come. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
To honor today's 4th-state hero, Corporal Marvin Snyder. The Oswego, Kansas native served in Liverpool, England from 1941 to 1945 in the Army and in the Air Force. We thank you, Corporal Marvin Snyder, today's 4th-state hero. Well, a video goes viral on TikTok showing the aftermath of an alleged sexual assault in Las Vegas. The video was posted on Saturday and has been viewed millions of times. The alleged assault happened February 13th, Super Bowl Sunday. Brett Forrest reports.
Security? Excuse me. Do you work here? Are you security?
This TikTok video shows Ariel Lindsay moments after she alleges a man sexually assaulted her. Faces have been blurred for privacy and swear words have been censored.
He sexually grabbed her. He literally just grabbed me.
Ariel's friend Shannon immediately filming the aftermath and altercation with the alleged suspect, saying she knew something was wrong and had to start filming.
That's why I recorded it. I feel like the best way we can arm ourselves is with our phones. And like by recording it, nobody gets to say he said this or she said that. It's just video evidence.
Visiting Las Vegas for a convention last week, the women say they were on their way to dinner at the Palazzo where they were staying. Ariel says she remembers walking by a man and giving him plenty of space.
And then I felt his hand go up my skirt from behind, and then he groped me.
We're choosing not to show the face of the alleged suspect for now, until Metro Police confirm he is a suspect. And as for the Palazzo and Venetian, they sent us this statement confirming they're aware of the situation, telling us the man was identified and trespassed, meaning he was kicked out and can't come back on property. Adding they take allegations of assault seriously and have a zero-tolerance policy. As for Ariel, she says she's overwhelmed, but the video helps give her a platform, though some comments are targeting her.
There's a lot of comments that's either like gaslighting or like victim blaming, and it's just, it makes it like it makes you just want to curl up in a ball and like hide and not say anything. And it sucks.
And speaking out tonight, the women warning others they aren't alone, hoping to bring awareness to sexual assault like this.
Any woman that has been sexually assaulted, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And feel free and don't feel pressured to not go to the police.
Well, Lindsay said she had been assaulted in a similar way a year ago in California. She promised herself she'd never let anyone get away with it again. That's why she was so quick to take action this time. I wonder if the casino actually has security footage of the actual incident. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, a landmark settlement between the U.S. women's soccer team and the U.S. Soccer Federation resolves an equal pay issue. We'll take a look at the agreement. And a pop-up kart rental sets up a course on the ice so that racers can try their hand at an ice course may or may not touch on their Mario Kart dreams. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Springfield police issue an endangered person advisory. The advisory first came out yesterday morning, and the missing person is Kelsey Ann Usher. She's 29 years old, has brown hair and brown eyes, and was last seen wearing a gray long-sleeve shirt with white sleeves. Suspect in this case, Alan Stokes, who's 44 years old, was last seen wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt and blue jeans. According to the Missouri Highway Patrol, Usher appeared to be forcefully taken from 2100 North Clifton against her will by Stokes during a domestic incident. Anyone seeing the missing person, the suspect, or anyone having any information related to the endangered missing person should immediately call 911, contact the nearest law enforcement agency, or contact Springfield Police. Missouri lawmakers are working to change the state's election process. A bill in the House would require photo ID and an update of the voter rolls. The bill would also revoke state funding for any local election authorities who fail to comply with new regulations. Proponents say the changes are necessary to prevent voter fraud. According to New York University's Brennan Center for Justice, 34 restrictive voting laws passed in 19 states last year. Housing developers will soon receive incentives for building new homes in Joplin. On Tuesday, Joplin Council passed the Housing Revitalization Plan. Under the plan, incentives based on the value of a home will be awarded if the new home replaces an existing single-family home and complements the existing neighborhood. A budget of $1 million is being set aside for the project. It'll be paid for by the current use tax. Officials hope the plan will encourage more people to build new homes in Joplin.
This is what we wanted. I mean, we want our city to move forward, and we want these areas, our neighborhoods to improve, and this was a huge step forward. So we want to thank the citizens for passing the use tax ultimately.
The council also received an update on the development of a new fire station. It's being built at 6720 East 30th Street. Bidding for the project is scheduled for April. Another downtown Joplin landmark is set to get a new lease on life. The former downtown YMCA in Joplin, which was home to a number of kids and families over the years, will soon be a real home to kids and families. Sawyer Smith with Blue Haven Homes says they're working to develop apartments in the building. They're the same group redeveloping the historic Olivia building in downtown. Smith says the history of the Y building is essential to its future.
The big one is we want to keep the YMCA feel, so we're going to be keeping the pool in the basement and really trying to transform a lot of the basement area into a gym and keep that activity focus of what the YMCA used to be for so many people around Joplin.
Smith says they're still very early in the planning stages, so an opening date is still too early to set. Road crew workers in Kansas City, Missouri had their hands full last week when intense winter weather blanketed the streets with snow and ice. As busy as it was, one snowplow operator took a moment to return a fallen American flag to the position of dignity it deserved. Alan Shope reports.
It was pretty hectic.
Kansas City road crew worker Eric Randolph had a lot going on Thursday.
A lot of snow, a lot of ice.
With the white stuff falling in sheets, it was nonstop back and forth up and down Kansas City streets.
Make sure that we're not hitting anything, making sure that the roads are getting taken care of.
Then he noticed something.
I just stopped, turned around, went back to the house.
What he saw was an American flag laying on the ground covered in snow.
Got the flag brushed off, went to the door, rang the doorbell.
Put your owner, boy. So I can give him his flag.
Eric, a former Kansas City police officer, understands what the American flag means.
A lot of people have done a lot of things for this country.
And why, even during a huge snowstorm, if it's on the ground, you can't overlook that.
How you doing? I'm a city snowplow operator and your flag fell, sir.
Eric says he sees a lot of things on the road that make him stop and pull over, but he says he's never seen an American flag stuck in the snow like that.
To me, it's personal. I don't ever like to see it.
The wind was whipping. Oh yeah, it actually bent your holder.
Be proud that you live in such a great country and that it doesn't take any effort whatsoever to do the right thing.
Hey, thank you. Sure, have a good day. Appreciate it.
Randolph also works as a Kansas City code enforcement officer. That was a great deal stopping for that flag. Well, if you've got a sweet tooth, Donut King Krispy Kreme and Crunchy Chocolate Cookie Twix are wooing you with treats paired together. Krispy Kreme and Twix are out there with 3 treats. It's a caramel cookie crunch, bar donut filled with a Twix, and then a caramel cookie crunch original topped with Twix pieces, and then a mini caramel cookie donut topped with Twix pieces. Whew. Get them in regular size or a specialty dozen through March 6th.
I can feel the sugar pulsating through my veins.
Oh, love me some Krispy Kreme.
That is why I eat English muffins. Here's what it feels like outside. Wind chills as low as 11 below zero in Yates Center. We're starting to see the negative numbers now creep into southwest Missouri as well. Everybody at single digits. Cloud cover's been our only concern so far, but it's a long way from over. As we look down in the storm, now firmly through Oklahoma City. Next stop is going to be Tulsa. Of course, you know what the blue is. The purple, we don't see that a whole lot, but that is sleet. And it is picking up on the roads, especially in OKC, where they've about slowed to a snail's pace. That right there is a portion of I-35. Not but an hour ago, that road was as clean and clear as can be, and people were cruising around at 65, 70 miles per hour. Gives you an idea of when it hits fast. Our weather trend for today will have our storm, say here about 9, 10 a.m. So we've got about an hour and a half, 2 hours before it actually shows up. But we do have a winter weather advisory for our counties in purple, the pink winter storm warning. Check out that expiration time as well. That's a key factor. It doesn't expire until tomorrow night. Here's future track. By the noon hour, traveling is going to be problematic all the way through the afternoon, evening, and Wednesday night. Then we're going to get sporadic little bouts of it. That means Thursday morning, we're actually going to have additional travel concerns. And by the time we're done Thursday afternoon, we'll see anywhere from 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice down in the southeastern portion of the 4 states. Some of that even getting on the north side of I-44. Combo that with the sleet and the snow, and that blue line right there, an indicator that we could see 2 inches of comboed accumulation. Lock in for the cold. Just be safe. Slow down. Let's plan accordingly. Your complete list of closings, KOAMNewsNow.com. More KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. This morning on the KOAM News Now Insta Poll, our something to talk about, the old 2/22/2022. Of course, that was yesterday's date, and those babies are going to have a great story as they grow older. That baby right there, as a matter of fact, was named Tuesday. Our question for you this morning, what season does your birthday happen to fall in? Right now, 35% of you, summer babies. Follow that with a pretty good equal split between spring, winter, and fall. Appreciate everybody's engagement each and every morning. There's been a landmark settlement between the United States Soccer Federation and the women's national team. It resolves the outstanding equal pay claims that's been in litigation for years. Brian Yanis with reaction to the deal.
A big win for the U.S. women's national soccer team. The team and its governing body, the U.S. Soccer Federation, reaching a $24 million settlement Tuesday, resolving a 6-year-long dispute over equal pay.
It's a Herculean task to win a World Cup. This felt just as Herculean or probably bigger.
The off-the-field battle began in 2016 when 5 players filed a federal wage discrimination complaint claiming female footballers were being paid less despite generating more income. In 2019, the women's national team sued the governing body for $66 million under the Equal Pay Act, citing gender discrimination, not only in compensation, but also playing conditions. U.S. Soccer committing to equal pay for the women's and men's national teams. $22 million will be split between the players. That's about a third of the damages they initially sought. The other $2 million earmarked for a fund to benefit players in their post-career goals and female soccer charities.
We're trying to get to one structure for both the men's and the women's team so that everything is equal across the board.
The players saying the goal was more than just money.
To know that we, the players, have built a culture that has instilled a sense of value and fight, I think is a legacy that we're truly proud to leave behind.
The U.S. women's team has won 4 World Cup titles. That's since the competition was founded in 1991. We'll be back with Consumer News right after this.
President Biden is unveiling new ways his administration and the private sector are committing to the production of minerals here in the U.S. Those minerals needed to power everything from electric cars to your cell phone. Deborah Alfarone reports from Washington.
President Biden met virtually with California Governor Gavin Newsom and business leaders Tuesday. He announced plans to expand the production of critical minerals here in the U.S., minerals essential to keeping the country's supply chain going.
Without these minerals, we simply cannot function. They can't function. And we expect the demand for them to increase by 400 to 600% over the next several decades.
To bolster American production of minerals such as lithium found in cell phones and batteries that power electric cars, Berkshire Hathaway Energy has announced plans to break ground this spring on a facility in the so-called Lithium Valley area of Southern California. Right now, much of the world's lithium comes from South America or Australia and gets processed in China. But one of the largest lithium deposits in the world sits beneath the Salton Sea off the West Coast.
To build a truly strong economy, we need a future that's made in America.
The Biden administration wants to reduce the U.S.'s dependence on foreign sources for critical minerals like cobalt and lithium, often refined by China. President Biden calls this a national security issue.
We've seen what happens when we become dependent on other countries for essential goods, like computer chips. Everyone's become aware of that.
But it's not just lithium and cobalt, it's also rare earth elements used to make magnets found in consumer goods and weapons. On Tuesday, the Department of Energy unveiled its plans to fund a $140 million project to recover rare earths from coal ash and other mine waste and to reduce the need for new mining. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
The Biden administration believes the new mineral initiative could also help with President Biden's goal of cutting greenhouse gases in half by the year 2030. The deteriorating situation in Ukraine is pushing fuel prices higher around the world. Oil futures approached $100 a barrel on Monday amid fears of disruptions to Russian oil and gas exports. Germany also halted work on the Nord Stream 2, a massive pipeline connecting Europe and Russia. Customers will no longer have to cover their face before entering an Apple store. The company is dropping a mask mandate for most of its retail locations in the U.S. Employees will still be required to wear them, however, and Apple says it will continue to encourage shoppers to do so as well. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
Dear Win.
Now, I don't want anybody trying this today with our impending weather, but from behind the wheel of a cart that's decked out with snow tires and ice screws, you can whip, zoom, and drift across a frozen lake in Aspen, Colorado. Relatively shallow Kodiak ski lake. It freezes each winter. And a pop-up ice cart rental facility sets up a course to let visitors try their hand at racing on the ice. Jason Grunauer with the story.
On a cold morning in the mountains outside of Aspen, the peace and serenity of a frozen lake pierced by the scream of a two-stroke engine.
They're fast and you can really just full throttle haul on these things. You can drift, you can really play around with them. They're so much fun.
This is Aspen Ice Karting.
They're little racing carts.
Sliding around slick corners.
Drifted pretty hard.
Blasting down sub-zero straightaways.
30 miles an hour or so, maybe 40 on those straightaways.
All on top of 16 inches of frozen Kodiak Lake.
There is fish underneath us sleeping right now.
This adrenaline-fueled idea came from this guy.
I think it's a 12 horsepower engine.
Kiko and his wife Yvette Trincado.
TRIN. He comes up with great, crazy ideas like, hey, what about running go-karts on the ice commercially? And I figure out how to make that happen.
The season may be short, only a few months until the track melts.
Yeah, they water ski on this in the summer.
But last year, more than 1,000 people raced across the frozen lake.
Super fun. Best experience.
I had a blast. It was a great time, very exciting.
Including some rather large names from the racing world.
Luca Di Grazzi is like the Formula E world champion. We've had Jeff Gordon come out and his wife Ingrid and his kids.
It may not be the most comfortable ride.
It's not smooth. It's really bumpy and it's really hard. It's super hard to work with the ice.
But it is super cool, cold even. Oh, and super fast.
You never knew that you could have so much fun in a tiny car.
10-minute ride costs you $49. 20-minute ride, do that for about $90. Do not be trying that here in the 4 states because we've got winter weather on our way. Here's where we stand temperature-wise. These are actual temps, not wind chills, if you want to factor in what it feels like to your body when you step outside. We've dropped as low as 11 degrees below zero up in Yates Center. A whole bunch of negative single-digit numbers abound. It is cold no matter where you go. Clouds crept in from the south. What we're eyeballing, though, is what's coming out of Oklahoma City, just about to make its way to Tulsa. 35 and 44 have pretty much slowed down to a crawl. There's a look outside of Oklahoma City. That's up to the north. Earlier, about 5 a.m., there was not a snowflake on the ground. And that's not just snow. That was also freezing rain and sleet that this thing is packing as it rolls through. And so there we go. Say about 9:30, 10 o'clock is when we're going to get started, especially if you're down along and south of I-44. That's where we're really going to see the frozen precipitation begin to pile up. It's going to affect our evening commute into Wednesday night. And then sporadically, we get additional frozen precipitation all the way through Thursday morning. And that is why our watches and warnings last all the way until Thursday night. That's right, they don't expire until Thursday night. So there we go, anywhere from 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice down to the south. And then if we combo the sleet and the snow all the way through Thursday, that could pile up and end up with about 2 inches of accumulation. 7-day forecast, cold temperatures remain until we get to Sunday. Everybody slow down, please plan accordingly. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. The U.S. levied more sanctions against Russia on 2 financial firms, the country's sovereign debt, and 2 Putin loyalists and their family members. The U.S. also cut off Russia from Western financing. In a show of solidarity, Germany halted the Nord Stream 2 pipeline that would have run from Russia to Germany. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also canceled a planned meeting in Geneva with his Russian counterpart. The Department of Defense is moving troops to NATO's eastern flank as fears intensify. Russia is positioning to attack Ukraine. 3 men already convicted of murdering Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia were found guilty of hate crimes in a federal trial. Gregory and Travis McMichael and William Roddy Bryan face up to life in prison for targeting the 25-year-old black jogger because of the color of his skin. They were already sentenced to life in the first trial. It's Ahmaud Arbery Day in Georgia, marking the day 2 years ago when Arbery was killed. The jury will begin deliberating in the federal trial of 3 former Minneapolis police officers involved in the killing of George Floyd in 2020. Former officer Derek Chauvin already pleaded guilty after he was convicted in a state trial. Prosecutors say the officers did nothing when Floyd said he could not breathe as Chauvin restrained him. Defense attorneys say the officers were inexperienced and not properly trained. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Once we get started here and say about the next 2 hours, going to roll through with the sleet, freezing rain, and snow that is going to last all the way into Thursday. Let's make sure that we plan accordingly, not only for this afternoon and evening drive homes, but also it will affect us tomorrow morning as well.
From Central and South America has been spotted in the United States for the very first time. According to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, this bat falcon was captured on camera at the Santa Ana National Wildlife Refuge in Texas in December. The agency posted 2 photos of the bird on Facebook last week. Santa Ana National Wildlife Refuge said, based on its appearance, the bat falcon is believed to be a juvenile. It's pretty cool.
Sounds like a superhero.
The bat
Falcon. Who are you? I'm Bat Falcon. Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.